Welcome back to another PBQ. We have two tasks here. So this is the N10 examination. Let me read task number one. Drag and drop the IPv4 classes to their correlating ranges. So that'll be over here in these. And then I have task two, drag and drop numbers 1 through 6 to prevent VPN tunnels from overlapping on 3 separate networks. And that'll be over here, 4, 5, 6. That correlates to 1, 2, 3. So there's a lot going on here, not a whole lot of real estate. And today our MVP will be the emojis. I don't think I used any in my videos yet. So let's put our thinking caps on here. First task is pretty basic. If you've supported IPv4 networks or, set up your home Wi-Fi or something like that, you may be familiar with some of these IP address ranges. If we kind of look at these terminals down here, that might help you to do the first task. So sometimes you can reference other questions on the exam and it'll kind of help you cheat, right? Anyway, not really cheating, but it gives you some sort of reference and it might help. Okay, if you set up a home Wi-Fi or internet, like I was saying, it's probably going to be IPv uh, 4 class C, which would start in 192.168.1.1 or something like that as your gateway. Does that sound familiar? If it does, that's great. You're on the right track. Okay, so that's going to be a class C. So let's move that over there. Okay. Um, what else do we know? Well, let's kind of use our logic, right? And eliminate what we think. So if that's in the middle, class C, what would be the beginning? So the very first one, let's be logical and use number one, right? So just using that logic of being numerical, we have class A. So what is missing between A and C? What numbers? Well, that would be, yeah, your class B. So that's logical too. Great. Just by us knowing one class, we can kind of guess the rest, right? Process of elimination. Fantastic. Okay, and using that same logic, being numerical, class D. And then class E. I never really see class D and class E networks. I don't know what's up with them or if they're available or they're experimental, I guess I read at some point. Um, but definitely be familiar with A, B, and C networks. Be familiar with these kind of gateways, 192.168. That would be our class C. 172, I have seen those before, kind of on private networks or like clouds or remote servers, stuff like that. But a lot of times corporate networks are going to use class A because they need more hosts and whatnot. Okay, so task one is done. If I had an emoji of a happy face, I'd give it to you. Good job. Okay, let's talk about task two. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if this is on the Network Plus exam, but I think it's a really cool problem. And if you want to be an experienced network technician or network administrator, you definitely need to know this, especially if you're setting up a larger network. Okay, so Da, 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 da. What exactly is it meaning when overlapping, like overlapping, I guess, subnet in this case? Because if you're on the same network, same subnet, same network ID, funny things are going to happen if you connect these two private networks over a VPN tunnel through the internet. It's going to mess up your routing tables. So your source and your destination and how it gets to where it needs to go, it's just going to get confused and not route correctly. So this is a huge problem if you're setting up a large network, which we're going to do in this task. Okay, so we have 4, 5, and 6. So using best practices, what are the answers? Technically, you could put whatever you want here. but I'm going to use what makes sense most or what you're going to see in real life. Okay, so we were talking about Class C networks or, like a home Wi-Fi or a small office, home office, something that's not that big. So if you were a user at a company, your network is probably going to look like this when you're at home, right? So that's pretty realistic. Let's put that for number 4. Okay, so we have a Class C with like our corporate users working from home. Okay, number 5. 10 dot blah 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 blah. Like I said, you could use either of these answers and it'd probably be realistic, but we're going off what I see more. So in this case, I see 10 dot networks for larger networks, maybe a corporate network. Maybe you have 100 computers, maybe you have 1,000 computers. So you're gonna need that Class A network. Okay, so that's 5. And then sometimes I see like remote desktop servers, terminal servers over the internet, or maybe even like a public cloud of some sort. Those will use Class B networks sometimes. So depending on what kind of resources you have and what you need, we've got users at home working maybe on the weekend or something. We have our corporate network here with like tons and tons of devices. And then we even have a Class B network here for remote things. Maybe it could be a remote office somewhere else, and we set up site-to-site VPN, or we use like a software to connect VPN. So we cannot have these on the same network. But because we have a Class A, a Class B, and a Class C, we're not going to have these routing problems when we're using a VPN tunnel. So that's quite important to know if you're going to set up a large network or support all kinds of different functionalities of corporate networks, which you will probably need to at some point in your career. Not sure if that's going to be on the Network Plus, but it's definitely a good thing to know. Thanks for watching and good luck on your studies.